You think Tom would leave me? He's had me in his heart all along. I paused with the cutlery in my hand, staring straight at my sister Kelly across the table. She smiled with scorn and provocation, as if waiting for me to break down. My husband, Tom, stood by the kitchen door, his expression helpless, not daring to say much. Years of her humiliation and belittling had taught me to hide my anger, but I realized one thing: today, I wouldn't endure it anymore. Months later, when Kelly trembled and could barely defend herself in front of the family, she finally understood that she had never truly controlled anyone, and I had quietly seized the upper hand in my revenge. I remember that feeling of being belittled. It had been rooted in my life long ago. As a child, during every family gathering, Dad would loudly praise Kelly in the living room, while my efforts seemed invisible. She would take my homework, pointing at the carefully written characters, laughing, "Look at this, even this is ugly." People around her laughed, and I could only lower my head, feeling like I had never been acknowledged. School made it worse. I remember a chemistry experiment where I carefully worked, only for the solution to spill from the beaker due to a minor mistake. The whole class laughed, and the teacher's frown weighed on my shoulders like an invisible mountain. Kelly would whisper beside me, mocking, "See? You're just clumsy." At that moment, I wanted to disappear into the air. I silently cleaned up the mess, vowing to myself that one day, those who had looked down on me would understand that I was not someone to be trampled on. During university, the pressure became more direct. In a project group, my proposals were always rejected. Sometimes someone would publicly suggest my ideas were worthless. That day, Kelly sat in the audience, chuckling quietly. "Look, she failed again." I held back tears, not responding, but every word burned like fire, slowly building up inside me. I realized that mere endurance only made others more ruthless. These experiences were like needles piercing my self-esteem, yet they planted seeds of revenge deep within me. I began observing, learning how others succeeded, how they gained control. I worked hard to prove myself in my career, secretly accumulating strength every time I was rejected. I knew that one day, I would turn these humiliations into a comeback, letting those who once mocked me experience true helplessness. Tom's presence gave me my first glimpse of possibility for revenge. He should have been a source of warmth in my life, yet Kelly had turned him into a new battlefield. I learned to remain calm in the face of anger, to observe her weaknesses rather than react immediately to her provocations. Every attempt she made to disrupt my life, I recorded mentally, like I was planning for the future. Under the kitchen lights, I saw Kelly raise her eyebrows again, her gaze sharp as an eagle's. I didn't flinch. I calmly sat down, lifted my glass, and sipped slowly. My fingers tapped lightly on the rim, each tap a subtle signal. I was ready. "You always think you're smart," I finally spoke, my voice low and firm, "but you don't realize I've been learning too. I see every little move you make, every provocation. It's all noted in my mind." Kelly's smile faltered. She hadn't expected me to respond this way. Tom blinked, surprised for a moment, but then relaxed, as if he understood I was protecting our relationship. That night, I lay in bed, reviewing every scene of past humiliation and every moment I had been underestimated. I began to map out a path for revenge, how to make Kelly feel powerless, how to make her arrogance collapse before reality. I knew this would not be an instant victory. It would be a battle requiring patience, precision, and calm. I imagined the future. Next time she provoked me, I would no longer just endure. I would use strategy, facts, and the realities she least wanted to face to leave her nowhere to hide. Looking out at the quiet night, I felt a resolve I had never felt before. The past me had always been passive, but now, I would control my own destiny, and hers. I didn't confront her immediately. That night, in my bedroom, I organized months of messages, social media posts, and family gathering records into a timeline. Every screenshot, every mention was backed up, and several copies printed for trusted relatives. The next evening, I arranged a meeting with Mom and my sister Isabella at home. The kitchen lights were cold and white, the evening wind stirred the curtains, shadows flickering across the tablecloth. I laid out the printed evidence. "March, Kelly, see, he actually wants to meet me too," accompanied by screenshots and witnesses present at the time. Mom's hands trembled, her eyes confused. Why would she say that? "She's our daughter." "I know," I held her hand. "But this isn't the first time. We can't let lies continue to harm the family." Isabella nodded. "You're right. I'm willing to testify." A few days later, at a family gathering, Kelly provoked as usual. "Don't you think Tom's been acting differently around me recently?" Dad set down his fork calmly. Kelly, who did you tell these things to last month? We have screenshots and a timeline. Can you explain? Kelly's face instantly changed, her voice trembling. Dad, don't do this, adults shouldn't question me at the table. Mom added, we're not questioning. We just want the truth. You must explain yourself. Relatives exchanged glances. Isabella showed the screenshots. Those misled by Kelly were silent, some lowering their heads, some looking guilty. Kelly's defenses crumbled. She grabbed the edge of the table, knuckles white. You're ganging up on me. You're all jealous that I speak the truth. Dad's eyes were moist, his voice calm. The choice is yours, accept reality or continue hurting others with lies. Days later, she posted on social media, trying to portray herself as a misunderstood heroine. Tom and I did not respond immediately but gathered more evidence: phone call records, messages, testimonies from friends misled by her, colleagues' reports of her emotional volatility at work. The pressure gradually closed in on her life. Friends stopped publicly supporting her, comments began to question her. One night, she called, pleading, I posted an apology. Can you stop exposing me? I answered calmly, a sincere apology, attending counseling, and making amends to those you hurt. We can stop sharing details. Otherwise, the facts will continue to unfold. Forced to face reality, she began therapy, learning to acknowledge the consequences of her actions. Months later, she wrote a public apology, admitting the harm caused by her misinterpretation of good intentions, and explaining she was receiving help. The apology was calm, unassuming. At family gatherings, she no longer made Tom the focus, chatting with others instead. Tom clearly set boundaries on his help. We shook hands, a quiet truce formed, but more importantly, we understood how to maintain boundaries, protecting ourselves while giving lost souls a chance to recover. One peaceful Sunday afternoon, Kelly handed me a note: thank you for not giving up on me. I will keep trying. I looked at it, feeling a complex mix of the triumph after years of being belittled and the relief of resolution. After dinner, Tom linked arms with me as we walked into the backyard. The night was gentle, the breeze carrying the scent of osmanthus. He looked at me, thank you. You've been very steadfast through all this. I leaned on his shoulder, smiling. This is part of marriage. What we protect isn't for anyone to take lightly. The storm passed, life returned to its rhythm, and the things that were repaired were more precious than any noise or chaos.